All right, Nebraska's defensive line. This is arguably one of the top 5 defensive lines in the Big Ten, and to me, it's the most underrated defensive line in the nation. This is, to me, a defensive line that, because they're in the Big Ten, where there are so many great defensive lines, you got Michigan, Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State. I mean, you have all these fantastic defensive lines. I'm missing one: Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Iowa. Oh, Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a fantastic defensive line too. But I think Nebraska has one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated, defensive lines in all of college football coming into this season. They have retained all their defensive linemen from last year. No transfer portal, no graduation, which played a crucial role in the Huskers achieving a top 10 run defense nationally. Top 10 run defense nationally. And a big part of it was because of that defensive line. They also finished top 25 in the FBS for sacks per game, 2.67, which also was good enough for third in the Big Ten. See, guys, Nebraska football hasn't had a player reach more than 6 sacks since Kahil Davis had 8 in 2019. I don't know if they're going to have a player with more than 6 sacks this year. If anybody it is, it's probably Jimari Butler. Maybe the polar bear, Nash Hutmacher. Sorry if I said that wrong. But guys, this is going to be a fantastic defensive line. And one of the reasons why is because they are going to be 8 or 9 guys deep. With how they were able to retain so much and continue to bring in players, they're going to be 8 or 9 guys deep. Now, I'm going to mention 7 guys here, but they have 2 or 3 guys that I think are vying for opportunities to play and actually get playing time next year. I think that Matt Rhule would be willing to dig into the 3 deep in certain situations for this team. Maybe the biggest games? Probably not. Probably go with the 2 deep. But I have 7 guys here. And I'm not even mentioning the Jack guys. I'm not even mentioning Herman and Prince. I don't even tell me to try to say that name. Ty Robinson. He's going to be their starting defensive end. 561 snaps last year. Only 1 sack, but 28 QB pressures. Fantastic. He was fantastic in the run game. He's a fantastic defensive end. Jimari Butler, 359 snaps, 5.5 sacks. All right, so he almost got to that 6 sack mark from 2019. But Jimari Butler, he is a force to be reckoned with. 26 QB pressures. So 5.5 sacks, 26 QB pressures. He is a menace. You do not want to be lined up across from him. Nose tackle, or the, I guess not always nose tackle, but the defensive tackle, Nash Hutmacher. Like I said, the polar bear. Imagine your name is the polar bear. That's your nickname. That's fantastic. Anybody whose nickname is the polar bear, that's fantastic. 504 snaps last year as a defensive tackle. 4.5 sacks, 23 QB pressures. Fantastic. Their 2 deep for their defensive ends are going to be Elijah Jeudy, who had 158 snaps last year. He had 0 sacks, but 8 QB pressures. And Cameron Lenhardt, defensive end, 266 snaps, freshman last year. Guys, he's going to be fantastic as well. He is going to push for starter snaps next year, or this coming year. 3 sacks, 11 QB pressures. Like I said, freshman All-American recognition last year. I cannot wait to watch Cameron Lenhardt, however you pronounce it. He's going to be fantastic. He is going to be a lot of fun. The speed in which he has off the edge is fantastic. The way he's able to combo his power with his speed at such a young age, only being a freshman, he's only going to continue to get better. He's only going to get stronger in the weight room there at Nebraska. I'm so excited to watch Cameron. Riley Van Poppel, another defensive tackle, 113 snaps. He had a half a sack last year and 2 QB pressures. So, not the most impressive numbers from him in the world. And then your defensive end / defensive tackle, guy that can kind of play either way, who I think is going to make a jump this season. A lot of good stuff coming out of Nebraska fall camp about him. James Williams. Only played 4 games last year, but he was good when he was in. And the coaches are talking about some really, really good stuff from him in training camp. So, my most underrated defensive line in the nation is the Nebraska defensive line. Returning all these starters, the possibility of going 8 or 9 guys deep. You have the usage of MJ Sherman and Prince to be able to use those guys as a jack position, which if you don't know the jack position, it's somebody that can play up on the line of scrimmage, but they can also go back to being a linebacker. So they play a 3-3. If he's up on the line of scrimmage, you're playing a 4-2. If he's playing back, you're playing a 3-3. It's very deceptive. It's very interesting the way they're able to do it. And I think that it's one of the best ways you can run defense in the modern era of college football. I think that is one of the defenses. If you have a jack position player, it is one of the defenses that is the most difficult for young quarterbacks to read and young quarterbacks to know, just because in college football there are so many reads with certain players. See the defensive end, read him. If you've got a jack who's roaming around, is he linebacker, is he defensive end? Really difficult. Really, really difficult for young quarterbacks to be able to see.